Hello, Prudential Sales Executives, for our video message of the week. All right, I continually get questions on pricing listings correctly. So, in turn, I'm going to do a video message, and I've got a dozen tips for you today on effectively pricing your listings. Now, we're going to go through these fairly quickly because we've got a short period of time, but no worries. If you have more questions, you've got leadership, email me, whatever, we will get all your questions answered. All right, let's get started. Okay, first of all, as always, we have to start with our mindset. If your mind is right, your world is right. Well, it goes hand in hand in trying to list properties at effective prices. Your mind's got to be right. So a couple of these, or more than a couple, tie into your mindset. All right, first, you've got to realize that the seller is listing their home with you to sell it, not listing it to list it. So you've got to go into this presentation with the idea that I'm being hired to sell this property, successfully get it closed, so you maximize the seller's equity and they actually get a check. Okay, you've got to go in with that mindset. Secondly, always be on the side of the seller. What do I mean by this? Well, many times sales executives go into a presentation and they feel, you know what, I've got to let the seller know about the market and what's going on. And that is a true statement. But what we do sometimes, and we don't need to, is we position ourselves with the agent and the market against the seller. And I'm here to tell you, you can get the same message across when you position yourself as the sales executive, the seller against the market. You still got to talk about the facts of the market, but you don't do that, okay, taking the side of the market. You don't have to believe in the market to show what it's actually doing. So you got to make sure that you're on the side of the seller. It's always you and the seller against the world. Okay. Next, have empathy for their scenario. You know, some of these individuals have put a ton of money in their property. I don't care if that was 5, 7 years ago. They put a ton of property in their market, in their property into upgrades. They've gone through, my property went up in value, my property plummeted in value, now I think my property's coming up in value. You know, have some empathy for their situation. They've gone through a lot of stuff. So when you go in there, if you truly do have that empathy, that will come through within your presentation. All right, next. Tell the truth, even if it's something you know the seller doesn't want to hear. That's okay. That's what we do. We have to share the truth. I know you want to share the truth, okay, gently, but you got to tell the truth. There's going to be things that affect their property, could be many different things, but they need to truly know what the facts are, and they're depending on you as the professional to do so. Well, next, along that same line is use facts of record to back up your opinion. Sounds normal? Well, I would always use facts of record, but make sure you're really utilizing, okay, the information that comes out of the MLS to be able to use it within your presentation. Lean on those facts of records. If you're trying to get an opinion to the seller, make sure you tie in those facts of record. Next, I want you to try with the mindset, start off with the thought process of having one of the 2 best priced listings in your area. You've got to start with that mindset. Now, keep this in mind. If you know that all the properties in the area are overpriced and you say, I've got to have the best priced property by far, great, you're on top of your game. But if everything is priced relatively okay, some higher, some lower, I want your goal to be to either be the best price listing in the area or at least out of the top 2. Okay? Next, I want you to use broker opens as a plus or as a help to you to get the message across to the seller on how to price their property. What's great about broker opens is it's a third party coming in and saying, hey, you need to do A, B, and C on your property, or here's what's going on with the price. And you get someone else's opinion that you can go back and share with your seller. Very, very powerful. Okay. Keep this in mind. Buyers, okay, the seller wants buyers, you're hired to sell the house. Buyers are attracted to homes that are priced effectively. They're not attracted to higher price homes. So now if you have this property that is overpriced, you are pushing buyers away, doing exactly opposite of what you were hired to do. You can't do that. So you got to let them know that to attract the buyers that you want and to maximize their equity, we've got to have buyers coming through here. Buyers are attracted, okay, to properties that are priced well. Keep this in mind about buyers as well, is they are much smarter today. They have access to much more information. They can get ideas on pricing from numerous areas. You need to communicate that to your seller and let them know they're smart. They know this is the facts, and they're going to go to those facts even before they go out and look at properties. That's why so many people start on the internet. Okay, they know a lot more information than they used to. You need to share that and make sure that if we're going to attract those buyers, we've got to be priced effectively. All right. Let your sellers know that you're going to measure the amount of showings you get per week. 2 reasons. 1, if we're not getting any showings or very few, the reality of it is it's price. Okay? No one's beating up the property if they're not even coming through it. All right? So if we're not attracting the proper amount of people, buyers to the property, we know it's price, and we've got to keep that price moving down until we get it to a price that's effective and we see activity through the house. The second reason, okay, why we want to measure, okay, the amount of people coming through is we can reach back out to them and get other feedback. So a buyer looked at the property and they didn't buy it. It wasn't something that fit their needs. Why? You can contact the other agent and say, listen, it seemed, if you were there at the showing, it seemed that your buyer really liked the property. What was up? And you'll get other third-party feedback that you can go back and share with your seller. Next, managers' inventory evaluation sheets. When you see this, okay, video, the managers have already been given, okay, they already had it, okay, their evaluation sheet. So they can help you from a standpoint of saying, all right, what am I missing on this listing? And go through a checklist of different ideas. You may be doing 70% of them, you may be doing 90% of them. But the reality of it is they have this checklist to go down to make sure you're hitting every area to best get your property priced where it should be priced. Okay, couple more. Your listing presentation matters. I cannot tell you how important this is. Please, going into a full traditional market as we are, it is no longer time to shoot from the hip. You need to use your mindset, so you got to go right in with the right thought process. You have to use the key tools that are in your arsenal that really connect, okay, with that seller. And how do you know that? Well, thirdly, you ask great questions, and you continually ask those questions because you're pulling out those that key feedback from that seller, so you know what? Here's 3 tools in my arsenal that I definitely got to share with this seller because I can tell by the questions I'm asking, those will be extremely important to my seller. And last but certainly not least, motivation of the seller is key. All these ideas that I just went over with you don't matter if they're not motivated. Hey, I can die in this property. I don't care if it sells or doesn't sell. You need to internalize that nothing works with someone who really has no vested interest in selling that property. I've always shared with you, if you have a specific idea why you took that listing, even though you know there was no motivation, that's fine. But otherwise, you need a motivated seller, so as things adjust and things change and you share quality facts of record, they move forward in the same direction you do, and that's to successfully get the property sold. Have a great week, everybody, and we'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.